God's plan versus your plan. How
Mm.
surrendering led us to liberation and joy. This is for all Black women. Usually I talk about Black women toxic jobs. This is for all Black women, where if you are spiritual and thinking about, are you someone who's always trying to make things happen? Or are you obedient and listening to what God is saying to you? I must say that I'm a recovering team do too much. And I used to always try to plan everything out in terms of how I thought things should be.
Mm.
But what I found as a result of being in a very toxic work environment, that I really had to listen to what God was saying to me. Sorry, I had to listen to what God was saying to me and be obedient to what God was saying to me. And so at that point, I had to stop and pause and listen. I had to listen to what God was saying to me. And listening led me to leave and really save myself from a very, very toxic job. So today, I'm so excited that I have my good sister friend here with me today. She's been a guest before, and actually, she was pivotal and instrumental in me getting out of that toxic job because she was the one who was saying, girl, you gotta go. You gotta go. You are too good for these people. You're too big for this place. You gotta go. And I was resistant at first because I really was very fearful. And we had a lot of discussions about faith.
Faith.
And I was telling her, I hear you, but I'm scared. I'm scared to leave. So we're going to have a very very deep conversation about spirituality. So if you are a Black woman who is spiritual, this conversation is for you. If you don't know me already, I'm Dr. Kamani. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist of over 20 years. I'm also a toxic job survivor and a toxic job liberator for Black women. So I'm going to introduce, or have my good sister friend introduce herself, and then we're going to get right to the conversation.
Hey, everybody. I am Dr. Latanya. I am the Soul Care and Black Liberation Psychologist and Strategist, the founder and CEO of Soul Care for Black Clinicians, as well as Soul Care with Dr. Latanya. And I'm so happy to be here with my good sister friend, Dr. Kamani.
Yes. And let me just give my sister friend some flowers because I've known Latanya over 10 years.
It's probably pushing like 15.
Oh, it's been a long time. It's been a long
It's been a
time.
long time. Yeah.
Yes.
You've been
And
blessed a long time with me, girl.
exactly. And we connected. We actually met each other at the toxic job. So when I've said to people, be mindful what information you share with people at the toxic job, I'm not saying you can't make friends with people at the toxic job. What I'm saying is use discernment. And I always knew that Latanya was good people. I never heard her gossiping about other people behind their back or anything like that. So again, use discernment. You can make some really good friends. We're still good friends. Okay. So, and actually she left before I left. So Latanya, let's talk about some of the challenges that you've experienced, and I know what they are, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about some of the challenges that you've experienced in your life that really motivated you, or really not motivated you, but really had you tap into your spirituality.
Mm. I have had a lot of loss. I'm
Mm-hmm.
already getting tender. Had a lot of loss. And so when you experience a lot of loss, and I mean like not just relationships in and out, but like people dying that are
Mm-hmm.
your core people,
Mm-hmm.
you know, where else do you go?
Right.
Right. Where else do you go?
Yeah.
And I've always been very connected to God, even from a kid. I always had dreams that came true. And, I always knew like that I had this very special connectedness to God.
Mm-hmm.
But as I've gotten older, it's gotten even stronger just because, life challenges and wanting to be in alignment with his will, wanting to be obedient. And so I think that just growing and going upward, you
Mm-hmm.
know, kind of put you in a place where you're like, okay, either it's me and God or I ain't really got nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. So it really knocked you down, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Spirituality. And you also talked about being a whirlwind warrior.
Oh yeah. Can y'all see my necklace I got
Move
made? I
move
mean,
this
the
up.
type
People
of
can't see it. We can't see it as well. Move
Oh,
this a little bit.
You said what?
Move to the side a little bit. We can't really
Oh,
see it
this
that
side,
well.
this side,
No, the other side.
this side, my other side, my other good side.
The other good side. All good sides.
Yes, okay, yes, indeed. Speak the truth, girl.
Yes.
Yeah, so I won't go into details because that's a whole nother show. But what I
Mhm.
will say is, in 2018, God told me that I was going to be in a whirlwind
Mm.
and that I should be afraid. I should be afraid, but I don't have to because He got me, you know.
Mm.
And so, what I will say, and God told me this in a dream. And what I will say, was absolutely in a freaking whirlwind. Starting
Mhm.
with 4 months later, my mom passed away out of nowhere, you
Mhm.
know.
Mhm.
And if that were not enough, there'll be like 6 other major things that happened, including another really good friend of mine passed 2 weeks after my mom. Like, just all these things kept happening.
Mhm.
And so, when the smoke cleared a little bit, you know, I said, wow, God told me He had me, and He did.
Mhm.
And
Mhm. Mhm.
so I definitely am a whirlwind warrior. And
Yeah.
so that is where that has come from. And I feel like it's a name that God gave me. I just didn't know how I would have to earn it.
Mhm. Mhm. And
So,
you're talking really about knowing that God would find a way for you out of the situation. And
mhm,
when we talked before about my struggles with faith, even though I've always
mhm,
been spiritual, but the faith about leaving a toxic job, did
yeah.
you ever question your faith about, wow, all this stuff is happening and
Oh God, yeah. I think that's a part of you know, the human experience, right?
Mhm.
Like, we're spirits, but we're still living a human experience.
Mhm.
And so, as close as I am to God, close as I've always been, during that time was so like the worst time of my life
Yeah.
combined. You
Yes.
know,
Yes.
there was,
Magnified. Yeah.
oh my God, there were so many things that happened. I mean, honestly, within a 2-month time span, it would blow your braids off your head. And you were around, see, you were around, you knew what I was dealing with,
Yes.
but oh my God, it was just crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So to look back now, like I said, in 2018, it was only God that I got through
Mm.
that whirlwind because
Mhm.
I think with someone with less faith, and
Mhm.
remember, I've been a mental health provider for 20
Mhm.
years.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I know that side of it too, right? There's mental health, there's emotional health, there's spiritual health, there's physical health, there's all these different versions. But without that close connectedness to God and without me being able to look back and say, okay, He told me I should be afraid. I'm going to be afraid, but I don't have to because He got me. I could look back at other things that He pulled me through and I knew He wasn't lying to me. So I
Yes.
had to hold on to that.
Yes.
I had to hold on like for dear life.
Yes.
Okay.
And that is so profound because I think when many of us experience fear, we stay like we're like in survival mode, right? We get
Mhm.
fearful and then we just dig our heels in. But
Yeah.
I also hear you saying that you're going to be afraid, right?
Mhm.
Because when we grow, we do experience fear. And one of the things that I saw that I was bearing witness to your own growth was getting your doctorate. So can you
Girl,
share?
I'm look, I should just hang up right now.
So can you share with the audience about how that really was a faith walk? And I just remember
Oh my
the
God.
whole journey. I was like, and I'm just so proud of you. I'm just
Thank
so proud
you,
of you.
friend.
But walk us through that experience.
Whew. Girl, you should have told me to bring some brown liquor to this session, okay? Oh my God. No, you know what? Again, I've always been very close to God. Doesn't mean that I've always been perfect and obedient. Doesn't mean I'm always gonna ever be perfect because I'm human, right? What
Mhm.
I can say is that after the whirlwind situation, um, well, let me back up. So the whirlwind situation happened December of 2017. Like I
Mm,
said, the first thing in the whirlwind was May 4th, 2018, the day my mama died.
mm,
Um, Now November, no, not November. Um, I don't remember the month, but it was in 2017,
mhm,
prior to the whirlwind dream.
mhm,
So I don't know, earlier in the year. I finally told God that I would get my doctorate. Okay. And this was after 7 years, 7 years of me telling, me telling him no. Okay. I don't know who I thought I was. I told God no repeatedly, and I meant that thing. Okay. I was I was absolutely positively, unequivocally not going to get my PhD.
Mhm.
I had no desire for that.
Mhm.
At that point, I had just got my second master's, about that, and my credential and all that.
Mhm.
And I only truthfully ever wanted my master's in social work, and then my LCSW. That was all I ever wanted. And I was goody gumdrops. That was what I wanted. Okay. So when God came talking this foolishness about PhD, I was just like, yeah, no, we're not gonna do that. And I also was like trying to like ration and like reason with God, like, I'm doing A, B, C, D, E, F, G. The other things you want me to do, you're gonna have to just be mad this time because I'm just not about to do this. Like, this is literally conversation. This is like
Uh-huh.
live footage of me.
And that sounds like such your conversation. That just sounds so you. Yes.
It is okay. So, um, and yeah, for someone that you've known me for like 15 years, I'm telling the
Mhm.
people in it. I was like, yeah, you're just gonna have to be mad, God, because I'm not gonna do that. And I did not want to go back to school again. I've always been a nerd. I always really like to learn, but I did not want to have to. Honestly, the biggest thing was I did not want to have to take stats again.
Mm.
That was
Mm.
so traumatizing, and I had to take it in undergrad again in grad school.
Mhm.
It was just horrible. I did not want to face that again.
Mhm.
I really did not want to write a dissertation. I'd already written a thesis for my MSW, graduate. That was good enough for me. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Um, but anyway, when I finished my second master's, which was all God, that was a whole thing that was God too. I once I finished, I remember I had this day and this kind of had this epiphany. I just started laughing. And I was like, oh my God, God had me do this second master to show me I can actually go back to school.
Exactly.
That's it. You remember me telling you that? And I was like, oh man, I said, I want to do this. And so I got the second master's in 2016. Mind you, the first master's came in 2005. So that was a long time of being out of school and working and like thinking school was out of my life forever. You know
Mhm.
what I mean?
Mhm.
And so, yeah, so in 2017, I started applying to, PhD programs. And long story short story, like I said, it was after 7 years of telling God no. I applied to 3 programs, didn't get in. So I felt like I was home free. Like, hey, 3 programs, that's Father, Son, Holy Ghost. I did what you told me to do. I'm out of here. You know what I mean? They don't want me. I don't want them. And so that's kind of how it came about. And then there was this continued like pressing on my spirit where God was like, no, that you just haven't got into the right program yet.
Mm. Mhm.
So fast forward, I ended up getting into the right program that was just for me. Literally, God created the program for me.
Mhm.
I told God, okay, this is the deal. If you
Negotiating with God. Okay, go on.
listen, we telling the truth or we ain't. Okay. This is the deal. If you want me to get this PhD, it has to be something with psychology and Black people.
Mm.
That's just what it has to be. And I don't know of any program like that other than something at Howard. And I knew he wasn't telling me to move.
Hmm.
So I don't know what you're about to do, but I don't see how this is going to work out for us. You know what I'm saying? So I applied to this program that actually was a certificate program. So I also have a certificate in clinical psychology.
Mhm.
And the reason I applied to that program was because they had done this study that tracked people that were graduates of post-bac programs and found that people, got a like from getting into a psychology PhD program is about 4% of those that apply. Only 4% get in. So
Mhm.
there was a study that was done that showed that like 84% of people that have been in psychology post-bac programs actually get into the PhD program. This
Hmm.
is done by Fielding. So
Mhm.
that's where I ended up going to school. And so long story short story, I remember I was talking to you like, oh my God, I'm already a licensed clinical social worker. I don't want to have to go. I was so like sad and depressed because I was like, I do not want to have to go. And again, all out of obedience. I do not want to have to go and get my clinicals again as a psychologist. I don't need them. I've been clinical for 20 years, you know? And so, but I was like, oh my God, I guess I have to do this because, you know, that was the program that Fielding had. And I knew I would be able to get in because I'd been in the post-bac. So I knew, you know, whatever. So fast forward, literally the last semester of the post-bac program, my beloved Dr. Christine Jacqueline, love her to pieces. I still talk to her even though I'm done with school. She was my professor, my dean, like all these things. She ended up being my dissertation chair. Just she's very Team Latanya, you know. And she invited all of her students to this informational about this new psychology program she was creating. And so this was very pivotal. And I say that because I always kind of like get this stirring in my spirit, you know, when I know there's something I'm supposed to do. Like I start shaking, like you can't see me shaking, but I'm shaking on the inside. You know, I know that this is something God wants me to do. And so I was talking to a good friend of mine. We were working on the, you know, then the program together. And I was like, I don't need to go to this program because I already know that I'm supposed to go and get this clinical thing. I don't want to do this, you know, whatever. So my friend Amanda was like, no, you just go. Let's just hear about it, you know. And I said, okay, we'll go to the informational. Go to the informational. And let's just approximate and say 20 questions were asked by participants. I probably asked like 15 or 16 of those 20 questions. So I knew God was telling me this was the program for me. Okay. Why was it such a big deal? Because it wasn't going to be the clinical program, which meant that instead of me being in school for 7 years, plus having to get licensed and take my tests and all that drama all over again, I would only be in school probably like 3 to 4 years.
Wow.
That's
what
like
a big difference.
Oh, huge difference, you know? And then I'm shaking now talking about it. And then another big difference about why this program was because you could actually create your own specialty, which was incredible. That was something I had never seen. And I had been looking at programs. I had applied to 3 already. And, you know, I had never seen that before, you know? And so I was like, oh my God, this is how I'm going to get my psychology in Black people. Okay. So I applied to the program, obviously got in, and created my own specialty, which was soul care and Black liberation. Henceforth, soul care and Black liberation psychologist and strategist. And what's so amazing about this, when you show up and you are obedient to God, He will open doors for you that didn't exist.
So true.
Literally, this was I was in the first cohort of this program. This program never existed. But guess what? It existed when it was just in time for me to leave the post-bac program. I was leaving the post-bac program, I think, in June. June. And then in August, I went right into the PSG program. You know? And what's even crazier is that once the program finished, well, first of all, everybody was on their own track because, again, you could create your own specialty, right? So once I finished, or I was about to finish, rather, I learned that program would be no more.
What?
You didn't know? I didn't tell you that?
No.
Oh my God, girl. Yes. They changed the program name and everything. And
like
that
window closed.
Bye-bye services.
Wow.
So people can no longer create their own specialty anymore. So when I tell you God created that door just for me. Now, granted, I'm sure there's other people that were in the program. I don't know none of them because I also graduated first. I was really, really on it, you know, and I graduated first. I turned in my dissertation proposal like a year ahead of time. Like I was really, really on it. But yeah, that program does not exist. And I just graduated in August.
That's crazy.
Because it was just for me.
Wow. That's amazing. Wait, I want to read a few comments. Okay, so somebody said his foolishness is higher than our wisdom, though, right? So God already knows, okay? Create your own PhD. I've never heard of that. Wow. Yes, but now the programs are even closed, so that's not even a possibility at that institution.
Yeah. They
Wow.
even changed the name of the program. Like my degree is just a PhD in psychology. I think now the program that replaced mine is what is it? PhD in applied psychological science or something like that. So it's and it was so close to me leaving that I was concerned that they were going to try to change what was on my degree. And I'm like, I didn't sign up for that,
Right.
So I was getting
Right.
ready to advocate if that was a situation, but they didn't,
Right.
But he did it just for me. And that was because of my obedience.
That is
So
amazing.
even though it took me 7 years to say yes, God wasn't surprised by that. He
Yes.
already knew. He already
Yes.
had the things online, the people online, the program. I mean, he already knew what time it was.
Yes. I want to veer a little bit, but it's still going to relate to spirituality, right?
Yeah.
So, can you share with the audience? Because I know that I've interviewed you before, LaTanya, but some people may not have seen it.
Right.
Can you share with the audience two things? One, how when you were experiencing a toxic work environment with Black women who were the people, and how that impacted you and how you're able to pivot. And then two, how you end up leaving the district because at first you were, I'm gonna work part time and blah blah. We were talking about this back and forth, and you were like, "No, I'm about to just be gone. I'm just gonna resign." I was like, "You don't take a leave of absence?" You're like, "No, I'm out." Okay, so the faith that's involved with that's a huge leap. Okay, so talk to us about the toxic work environment that you had with these Black women, because so many of us have had issues with Black women in the workplace. Not to say all of us are.
No, all of us are not that way.
Not at all.
The majority of us are not that way.
Exactly. But some very deeply insecure are. Okay.
100%.
And how that impacted you. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, child. I've actually had a couple layers of that, with I've had some Black women administrators that were amazing. And then I've had some that did not do their job in terms of advocating for me when I had issues with other people, which on one level is fine because I don't have any problem advocating for myself, but then I've also had some Black women that were just despicably disgusting to me, and because we were talking about, and so what that did, it's interesting because on one level, I'm not that surprised when other people are that way. But when you look like me,
yeah,
yikes,
yeah,
it's just gross.
Shame on you.
Shame on you.
Yes.
And the part that's so bad is that a lot of times, we're clinicians. We know how to dig and get histories and things like that. When you also find out about the people that have been nasty to you, you also find out that there have been other Black women or other people in general that were nasty to them.
Yes.
They could have chosen to stop this.
Yes.
Did not.
Yes. Yes.
And I think it kind of goes back to the pet versus threat kind of situation. And, I think it really goes also into mindset, because like you said, for someone that's insecure, when you see someone like us that are doing our thing, we're on our JOBB, we're doing all the things, someone that is insecure would be very threatened.
Right.
But for someone that is secure, you're like, hey, everybody has a lane.
Yeah.
Everybody has a lane, So for me, it was just really disheartening. It was really, I was about to get an attorney at one point. That's how bad it was. And then when I went up the ladder first at the job, what was the office name? I forgot. Some office, human relations, staff relations, somebody relations, basically told these two Black women to basically leave me the hell alone, And after that, they pretty much did, And but again, it took advocacy. It was really hard because doing the work that I was doing as a psychiatric social worker was difficult work enough.
Right. You were in a high need school too.
Oh, I was always in high need schools.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that was really, really difficult. And so, going through that, and then the people that you work with that you think kind of should have the same goals as you, which is just to
Mhm.
serve the kids and make sure the kids are well. They're too busy worried about what you're doing.
Right. Trying to take you down.
Trying
Like,
to
are
take
we
you
helping the kids? Are we supposed to be on the same team?
right,
Uh-uh.
right.
No.
So yeah, so that was all of that.
Yeah. Can I say something too, Sonia?
Yeah.
So I distinctly remember that experience for you because
Mhm.
everybody, if you could see, Latanya is so bubbly. I
Mhm.
always say, like, can we just package up your personality and just, oh my God. So I remember when you were going through that time, and I remember one day you sent me a text and it said something like, God did not create me for this. And it was a whole bunch of
Mhm.
crying emojis. And I was like,
Mhm.
whoa, for Latanya to
Mhm.
be brought to this level, this must be horrible. It must be horrible. So
Girl.
how was your spirituality impacted during that time? And in what ways did your spirituality help you during that time?
Good questions. First of all, I'm fully healed, praise the Lord, because I don't even remember that text.
Oh, you know? Oh my God, I do.
I don't
It was
remember that
so
text.
profound. Yes.
Yeah, but I mean, I could so see that because it was a horrible time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was horrible. So my spirituality at that time really helped me because I was able to lean into God and like know that it's not me. I'm not crazy. It's them.
Yes.
You know, this
Yes.
has
Yes.
nothing to really do with Latanya, you
Mm-hmm.
know?
Mm-hmm.
And so that is how that helped me. And then how it kind of challenged my spirituality was because I feel like I've had a lot of situations where things have happened where I've had to advocate for myself and also advocate for other people.
Right.
And so I also was like, God, again, like for real. You know what
Mm,
I'm saying? Again, I'm
yeah.
tired of this. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So it was challenging, but also when I sit back and just think about, okay, I know he got me. It's
Mm,
gonna be fine. This is only for a season.
right.
Know? The thing is about seasons, two things. One, they always come to an end,
True.
but two, you don't know when that end is.
True.
Right. So it doesn't mean it's the easiest thing,
Mm,
but I'm still really leaning into God and leaning into my support circle like you and other friends that were able to support me during that time
mm.
was really, really helpful.
Yeah, and I think it speaks to the importance of knowing your worth and knowing how to advocate for yourself because you went to try to get support, and initially you were not supported
Mhm, mhm.
for with another Black woman. You
Another
know,
Black woman, yep.
and
Another Black woman who actually told me, "Well, people treat people like this at the district all the time, Latanya." And I said, "That has nothing to do with me,
what does that mean?
'cause I don't come to work to be treated this way." And I
Right.
literally I told exactly what I just told you is what I told her, my administrator, and I said, "Also, if people are being treated this way, then not only should they be advocating for themselves, but people like you should also be advocating for them."
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
know? And
Yeah.
so, yeah, and as
Yeah.
a social worker for 20 years, advocacy is something I could do in my sleep.
Yeah.
Right is right, wrong is wrong. People need to be treated with respect and dignity and all the things. And so that was very heartbreaking because not only she was a Black woman, but she was a Black woman that I had known for many, many years at that time. And we even though she was my administrator, we had a personal relationship before she was my administrator. So that was really hurtful, you
Yeah.
know. Mhm.
Yeah. So to know she didn't have your back, and I want Black women to be able to hear that sometimes we're in these situations where we try to get support from others and they're not going to help us. They don't help us
Mhm.
for
But guess
whatever
what?
reason.
But guess what? I didn't need her help because God told me what to do. God told me
Yeah.
what office to go to. I did what I
Yeah.
needed to do. And
Yes.
then there you go.
Right. So we need to navigate through
Mm,
those situations to whatever situation helps us. And you know what's so amazing about this, speaking to God, that what happened after that job position, after that school year, what ended up
mhm,
happening with
mm.
you in your position?
Yeah, what ended up happening with me was I actually got promoted to be an administrator myself.
Yes.
And so I
Elevated you, promoted you, God promoted you. Yes.
God promoted me, and it was literally just months after this,
Wow.
It was months after this, and it was just literally like God was like, it was just like, "You're done. You're out of here,"
Right.
And it happened so smooth and seamlessly. It happened over the summer. I never had to go back to the school. Like it just, it was a whole thing. He really just, it was very, very swift.
Yes.
Yeah, very,
Yes,
very
yes. And
swift.
then the part about when you realized that it was time to leave the district, because
Mhm,
both of us used to work for the second largest school district in the nation. When
mhm,
you realized it was time to leave, was there an escalation of events or progression of events that happened? Because most of us, there's a progression of events, right?
mhm.
And why is it that you were like, no, I'm out? Like you didn't want to like tip your toe, like toe in, like, oh, let me try it out. You were like, I'm out.
You
What?
know, it was a lot of things. I think because I was talking about going part-time at first and talking to the administrators union, and like there had been no part-time administrator. So that was going to be a whole nother uphill battle. But the union was like, they had my back and they were going to advocate for me and blah, blah, blah. And then at the same time, my grandmother that raised me was getting more and more ill. So, you know, I was like, me and my uncle were her primary caregivers. So I had FMLA for like 6 years, taking her to all her doctor's appointments and you already know this, all the appointments and everything. And so I said, okay, well, you know what? Maybe I need to just like look at, do I want to go through this uphill battle of getting the part-time? And I know she needs me more. And then I always, for like at that time, I think maybe 10 or 11 years, I already had my private practice going, but it was just a side hustle. It wasn't anything, um, at that point. But wait, let me back up. By that point though, I
Mhm.
had replaced my work income with my private practice. So it wasn't like,
Oh, I'm sorry, wait. I need
Mhm.
you to pause with that, right? The reason I
Okay.
want you to pause for that is that I want Black women to hear that when you're at a job, there's other ways you can replace your income
Oh
than
my
that job.
goodness.
You
Yeah.
have options, right? And the smart way to go about it, if you can, is to start replacing that income while you're still at the job.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, yes,
I just
yes.
wanted to highlight that. Okay.
Highlight that. Highlight it. Okay. And that was a blessing because what it did was it gave me an option that I had not considered at first.
Right.
You know, I had a coach at the time who said, why don't you go part-time, and because your business is doing really well, and okay, I forgot another key piece of this.
Okay.
Another key piece of this. So, maybe 5 or 6 months. I'm kind of sketchy now on the time, 4, 5, 6 months, something like that, before COVID happened.
Hmm.
I was doing a lot of praying. I was telling God, please let me be able to be off work for like 5 or 6 months with my full check. And in my head, I was like, I'm gonna get my business going, I'm gonna go back to school, and with the time off, I'm like, I can take care of grandmommies, just all the things. And
Hmm.
so pray that for 4, 5, 6 months. And then here comes COVID.
Wow.
And I was able to be at home for that time with my full check. And that's when my business grew exponentially.
Hmm. Hmm.
I started growing it really in like 2019, but in 2020, it just like took off.
Hmm.
You know?
Hmm. Hmm.
And so I ended up leaving the job January 2021. So basically after Christmas break, which we get off, at the schools, I just never went back after Christmas break. So
Right.
um and so, yeah. So anyway, I had prayed for that. Did not pray for COVID. Didn't know
Right.
nothing about COVID. Didn't
True,
want COVID.
true, true. Yes,
All the
yes.
things. But just look at the alignment, though.
Yeah.
This. I think it also speaks to the thing too that sometimes you'll pray for things, and I think what I have learned, and I'm still not perfect at this at all, but what I have tried to be better at implementing, I'll say it that way, is praying with greater specificity
Mm.
because I wanted to be off 5 or 6 months. And in
Mhm,
my head, I was like, oh, I'll just have one of grandmommy's doctors write me off. You know what I'm
mhm,
saying? Uh,
mhm,
but guess what happened? COVID happened. And
mhm.
although I didn't know nothing about that and got nothing to do with that,
Right,
I still see that time as God heard my prayers.
right,
I still got what I asked him for, just maybe
right,
in the way that I would have
right,
wanted it.
right,
You know what I
right.
mean?
So we didn't pray for COVID. However, the opportunity for
Oh,
you
yeah.
to get your full income, grow your business. And so when we were like, maybe part-time, you were like, no, I'm leaving.
So
So,
let me tell you why I had that attitude, because at that time when I left, I had a boss that I loved. Like, and I in that administrator job that I have, it was a really cool job. I wasn't working with kids anymore. I was only working with parents, and I was working with other administrators. It was we don't even have time to talk about that, but that was a whole nother job that God literally set up for me. Like, there
mm,
was an interim person in that job who was Spanish speaking, and my Spanish is muy poquito. Okay. And I should have been Spanish speaking for that job,
huh,
um, but that job was for me because the person
yeah.
that was interim did not get it. I did. And the Spanish speaking parts of that job, actually 8 other administrators ended up doing that part of my job for me.
Wow.
So again, when God has something for you, right? It doesn't,
Yeah.
that's why I got stories upon stories about it in faith, because I've lived that, you
Mm-hmm.
know? Um, but anyway, so when it came time, I was like, I'm just out of here. I had a really good administrator. I really, really, like, he was really the bomb. And I was the only person in the whole district that did my job. So
Mm-hmm.
that was also something that I didn't take lightly. So, like, I actually gave him a 2-month notice.
2 months. Wow.
Because that's how much I really liked him. He was that good
Huh.
to me. I gave him a 2-month notice because I wanted him to be able to. Nobody can replace me, but
Of
I
course
wanted, right. But I wanted him to get somebody to be in the job that I was doing. And
Yes.
I had this whole like transition plan, documents that I gave to him about what I did, who I, all the things, so that he could take that on when I left,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
um, before he hired someone. And so, but the reason I knew like I'm out of here and whatever was because God had been really on me about leaving and stepping out, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember that's very scary because I had been at the district for 15 years at that point, And you
Mm-hmm.
know how we were raised, you get that good government job,
Right. Yes, with the pension, you get summers
pension.
off, you got breaks, yes.
Yes, you're already making 6 figures, you know what I'm saying? All the things. But ultimately, God was telling me to leave. And as scary as it was, I knew I would not have any peace if I did not obey. I just
Mm,
knew that.
mhm,
I just knew that. And so for several years, I've asked God at the end of the year, what is my word for the following year? Okay.
mhm, mhm,
So in 2020, he told me in 2021, my word was going to be leap. And that was so scary,
mhm.
but I knew I wouldn't have any peace if I wasn't obedient. So that's
Mhm.
what I got to get out of here, girl. I'm gone, I got to go, That's where all of that came
Now,
from.
what would you say to people who might say, "I haven't heard God speak to me," or how do I even get in a position so that I can hear what God is saying to me?
Yeah, that's so interesting. I have a lot of people, a lot of clients specifically that come to me and they end up hearing God better once they are with me because
Oh,
we go through my whole soul care framework,
okay.
and but really a lot of us I think hear God, but people
Mhm.
just may not know that that's God.
Mm.
That still small voice or that unction in your spirit to do something or to say
Your
something.
intuition too, right?
You said what?
Sometimes like your intuition is telling you, like you're like, something's telling me.
Yeah. So people say intuition. I say that's the Holy Spirit,
Mm.
you know?
Mhm.
So, and I know I would say this, whether it's this big or this big, if I don't follow it, I always regret it. That's the Holy Spirit.
Wow.
So I think following that and like really being very intentional and consistent with that, like
Mm.
people will know. Like some of my friends, I don't think this ever happened when you and I have been out to dinner or whatever, but we could be somewhere and if I feel in my spirit it's time to go, I'll be like, hey, it's time to go.
Yeah.
And I will get up and get on,
Yeah.
you
Natalia,
know.
do you remember this time we were out to dinner with Ebony and we were at this Persian restaurant and this little kid kept jumping up and down? And I was like trying to get our attention. I said, something's wrong here. Do you remember that?
I kind of remember that.
There's
Uh-huh.
something
Uh-huh.
wrong. This is very unusual.
I
He's with his
kind of remember
mother.
that.
the
Baby,
mother
'cause he
got
was sitting behind
responded.
us or something, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he kept jumping up, and like my intuition was like, "There's something not right," right? And
Mhm,
I asked you, I said, "You think I should go talk to her, talk to her
mhm.
mother, the black woman?" And you
Oh,
were,
oh, 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 oh.
yes,
Yes, and the black woman ended up being, like, needing to leave her husband or something.
yes.
Yes,
So I went to go talk to her,
yes,
and she was like
yeah.
looking straight ahead, and the kid was bopping up and down.
Yep,
Went
I
to go
remember
talk to the
that.
mother, and I said, I don't mean to disturb you, or I don't mean to be intrusive, but are you okay?
You
And she
okay?
said, no. And then
Mhm,
I was like, can I sit down? And I sat down with
mhm.
her, and she told me about this whole
I
thing
remember
about needing to get away
that.
from her husband, and she needs to escape. And we did this
Yeah.
whole exit planning.
Exit plan, yep, I remember that.
That was crazy. That has never happened
Yes.
to me ever in my life,
Yes,
ever.
but guess what? You listened to the Holy Spirit
Yes.
in you that said, "Get up and go talk." I remember that, and
Wasn't
he
that
was a little bitty guy. I remember that. That was
yes,
wild. Yeah, I remember that.
yes.
It was
And he
years and
was
years
crying out
ago.
for help, like, "My mom is in
This
help.
poor
She needs help."
baby. Yes, I
Yes,
remember that. I hope they're well today. I remember
I
that.
do too. I
Oh
do
my
too. I do
goodness.
too.
Yeah.
So, it's interesting because of you being obedient
Mhm.
and you sharing resources with me, of course. And I always say that Tanya's my first coach. She was my first business coach.
Yeah, yeah.
But by you being obedient and by me seeing you leave and do very well, that made it less fearful for me, right?
Mhm.
So it
Mhm.
made me feel like, okay, if she did it, then
Mhm.
maybe I can do it. But I was still struggling. I was still
Yeah.
struggling, right? So yeah, it was interesting to see that. But again, I couldn't make that final jump, but I saw that you were doing it. But can
Mhm.
you share, because people hear me talking about my experience in a toxic job. I'm
Mhm.
gonna switch it a little bit again too, because you're
Mhm.
my friends. We go all over the place, right?
Yeah, go
I'm
ahead.
just a little bit
Tangential, go ahead.
tangential, right? So can you share with the audience what it was like for you as my friend
Mhm.
to see what I was going through
Mm.
and my difficulties leaving that toxic job?
Oh my God, that was horrible. It was horrible for me as somebody that loves you and somebody that knows your worth, somebody that knows what you bring to the table. It was horrible not only for me to watch you experience that, but also it was horrible for me to watch you not know the things about you that I knew about you, you know, and wanting better for you. And also hearing in my spirit from God, tell her to go, tell her to go. And I knew I was hearing correctly because I got years at this, you know what I'm saying? I knew I was hearing correctly from Jesus Cristo, okay? Um, but you have to, you had to find your way at your time,
Mhm, mhm,
and what I had to do, which I think all of us have to do when we love somebody and in whatever kind of situation that, we don't think is best for them, is that we have to just pray for them and love them through it and then trust
mhm.
that God, the same God that has me, also has you. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? And that he would take care of you. And ultimately, God ended up speaking to you very clearly, and
Yeah.
immediately after him speaking to you, you went and wrote your resignation letter.
Girl, immediately, right?
Immediately.
Immediately. Yes, yes, yes. Yes. And so for me, for you, because I remember like it was yesterday, you and Dawn, we were out to dinner,
I remember
and
that.
I was telling Dawn and you about what I was doing to prove my worth to these
Girl, bye.
unworthy people who were not worthy of me, trying to prove my worth and prove I'm doing all stuff. And you both said, you need to stop. You
Yes.
gotta go, right? And I
Yeah.
remember you also said, you said, I think you need to fast. I was like, fast? I'm not fasting. What are you
Yes.
talking about? I'm not
Yes.
fasting. But you were like, there's other ways to fast besides just food.
Yeah.
And I think that the more that I leaned into, there has to be something bigger and better for me because I know that I did not go through all this in my life to be here terrorized
Like
by
the text message I
poverty
sent
people.
you.
What was that?
Like the text I sent you said the
Yes.
same
I
thing.
just I
Yes.
was like, I know cannot be true. It cannot be
Yes.
true. But I
Yes.
think we all have to go through our own process to get
100%.
to that point, right? And
100%.
I always remember you talk about being obedient to God, and that was
Mhm.
key to me
Yeah.
being able to pivot, right? So
Yeah.
can you talk about ways that you support Black women in
Mm.
their own journey of towards liberation and joy. Like we found liberation and joy through our own process of listening to the Word of God. How do you support Black women in that?
Yeah, so very much some of the things that I did with you, being very encouraging, creating an exit plan, and so yeah, I have a therapy practice, and my main focus now though is the coaching practice, where I actually have a couple of programs for Black women and Black men, and well, one program is also inclusive of Black men, to really step into their divine calling, really be able to align their faith with their business or their careers. There are a lot of us that know God is calling us out to be,
Mhm.
into whatever his purpose is for us. And we have this fear. I
Yeah,
haven't a job, or I don't want to do this, or I don't think I'm good enough. I have imposter syndrome, whatever the things
I
are.
got bills to pay.
I got bills to pay. Nobody knows about bills better than me. I can tell you that. Let me testify. Okay.
Yes.
But yeah, so really, really supporting and encouraging Black Christian professionals to identify and execute, what their God-given purpose is. And so, they can actually live a life that their soul loves,
Ah,
and be able to be liberated. And it doesn't mean that entrepreneurship is easy, because I can say it's honestly one of the hardest things I've ever done. Would you not agree? I think any
yeah,
entrepreneur,
it is. Yeah.
it is. And I've had several businesses over more than a decade, and it's one of the hardest things I've ever done. And so what I do is
Do
really,
you regret it? Do you regret it?
no, I don't.
Exactly.
Because even in the hard times,
Mhm.
even when, things not looking how I want them to be looking, I'm like, oh, I ain't got to go tell it, have anybody telling me what to do. Ain't nobody talking to me crazy. I ain't got no IEPs to write. I don't have no
Girl,
two-page DMH assessments. You know what I mean?
girl,
Never.
girl. Can we
No.
talk up just a little bit? Because Latanya and I were recently presenting at a conference for Black women insurance agents.
Mm-hmm.
And we were sitting in one of the workshops, and they were talking
Oh
about,
gosh.
there's been some burnout and being
Oh God.
disrespected and having to silence their voices and people saying their ideas, the whole thing. And I was sitting there listening to it. And I had those experiences before at the toxic job. And I said to Latanya, I'm so glad that that's no longer my experience. I'm
Yeah.
so thankful that it's not.
Yeah, me
And
too.
I said also to Latanya that what makes me so sad is that you had all these brilliant, brilliant Black women, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there's this perception that these things are happening to me and I just have to take it because that's my job. I just have to find ways to cope with it because that's my
A
job.
job, yeah.
I don't have any other options except for find another way to deal with it. And I say to Black women, we
Mhm.
were on a panel together. I was like, if a Black woman comes to me and says, can you help me cope with this job environment?
Mhm.
I'm like, I'm not the one to help you.
I'm not either.
I don't want to support you in staying
No,
in any environment that is harming you. What
yeah,
I can do for you is for the short term, we can talk about some stuff you can do while
yeah.
you put your exit plan together.
Execute
But
together, yeah.
that was so, oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was horrible. It was
Oh,
horrible. And let me say this too, just like for me, although I was in a very toxic work environment, the position that I had when I left was not toxic,
mhm, mhm,
Well, there were some pieces of it that were, but those were outside of control, because it was kind of related to parenting stuff, and stuff that didn't have anything to do with my department or my managers.
mhm.
But people also, I think, which is important to look at, really a lot of us need liberation, not just from toxic jobs, but liberation to get into the call that God has for your life.
Exactly.
That's
Maybe you've outgrown that job.
you've outgrown that job, and maybe that was just a stair step into your
Yeah,
next step of your journey.
yeah.
Maybe maybe you're having such a horrible experience at your job because God has been telling you to get your booty out of there. You know what I'm saying? This is
Exactly.
not for you.
Exactly. And you know what? You told a story on the panel. I heard this story before, but
Mhm.
tell the people about what you said on the panel about when you were working with the Black woman in that administrative position and what she said to you. You're like, girl, God, I'm not
Girl,
scared.
bye. So first of all, you know, I I think people that know me, know that I'm Latanya, irrespective of where you see me, meet me, know me. I'm the same person. Okay.
Yes.
So um I had this Black administrator who was a Black woman, and I forgot what the situation was, but she wanted me to do something in a different way than what I had done it. And what I had done was not incorrect. It just wasn't in the way she would have done it, you
Okay.
know? And so I told her, no, if I do it the other way, that isn't authentic for who I am. And this falls under my responsibility, and it's done correctly. And I need to do it in a way that's authentic for me, you know? And so I guess she didn't know who I was in the Lord. Okay. Because she said, well, Latanya, I'm trying to help you save your job. And I said, you can't save my job. The superintendent of schools can't save my job. If I don't have this job, it is because God has moved me and he has something better for me. And she looked at me like a deer in headlights and she said, I guess you're right.
She wasn't ready for that.
She wasn't ready for that. She said,
No.
yes, you're right. I said, yeah, I am. Okay. So very shortly after that, a few short months later, while you're talking about saving my job, like low-key trying to threaten me, she got demoted. Her whole team was taken from her, which is how I ended up getting to an administrator that I loved, which is why I gave him a 2-month notice.
Right.
So, yeah, I think really when you are standing in your authenticity, and we talked about that too. For
Yes.
me, authenticity looks like who God created me to be.
Yes.
Well, my authenticity does not compare myself with Dr. Kamani or anybody else's. What does God want me to do? What am I supposed to say? How am I supposed to be? I can't get caught up in what somebody else is doing. That ain't got nothing to do with me,
True. True.
So with that, when you are in alignment with who God tells you to be, because all of that came right up. I knew that was the Holy Spirit telling me to say that, because they just came up so very easily, like just nice and graceful, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And, but she just, she had to bow down to that. She was like, I
Yeah.
guess you're right,
Yeah.
But the
Yeah.
thing was, she was the one that got demoted, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So someone trying to spike fear in me, it turned on herself.
It absolutely did.
Her
It
own fear
absolutely did.
turned on
And you
herself.
ended up pivoting and leaving on your own
Ended up
terms.
leaving on my own terms.
Yeah,
Yep.
to what you wanted to do. So let's talk about your offers, Latanya. So please share with the audience, what is it that you're offering now? Well, actually, what are your services? What are your offers? And I know you have an offer coming up this week, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Sunday. Yes, of this week.
yes. So share everything with the people.
All right. All right, people, y'all listening? So, yes. So specifically in my coaching practice, I do consulting as well for corporations around different things. I also work with, thank you. I see my link up there. I also work with Black women and Black men in individual coaching, group coaching. And so I have a new program that's coming out called Divinely Unleashed. And this is actually the first time I've unleashed that title here today. And basically, that is the foundation of that is using my soul care framework and allowing you to integrate your faith with your business or career. So whether you want to expand your current business or grow, start, build a business, you want to create new programs, you need to learn how to create offers, all the things, whatever it is, whatever that passion is that that God has been telling you to do and you've been afraid, this is the program for you. Going to change your mindset, going to really, really dig into having some really soulful discussions about where you are supposed to be and how to execute that plan for you. And it doesn't mean that everybody needs to leave their job, because that's not the call for everybody, but maybe God is calling you to have a program for somebody or have a business to do something and still keep your job. I did that for like 10 or 11 years prior to leaving. So everybody has a different path, but ultimately, Divinely Unleashed, the whole point of that is to be unleashed into what God has for you, his purpose for your life, you know. So for that program, I actually am doing a launch next week where I'm starting off with a full week of training, an hour each day, and we'll be going in depth in my soul care framework. I'm super excited about it because this is the first time I've ever taught my soul care framework publicly.
Okay.
So, yeah. And so although it's mentioned in my
Is
dissertation,
it live this
it is
week?
live. Yes.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah, so we have Monday through Friday. It'll be an hour, 4 p.m. to 5, and then and that's PST. And then on Saturday, it's just 1 hour for the Q&A session, which is 9 a.m. At PST time as well. And so then I also have my flagship program is called the HER program, which is Healing, Evolving, Rising. And that program is also really dope because it concentrates on the 3 pillars of faith, wellness, and entrepreneurship. And that program is very individually calibrated to wherever you are in your journey, personally, professionally, and otherwise. And yeah, that one is really dope. That program actually includes 2 retreats per year. And so one of the retreats is international and the other is stateside. So last year we actually went to St. Lucia and had a fabulous time. So yeah, those are like the 2 main programs. I do have some other smaller offers, but those are the 2 like main group programs, the main like my purpose programs.
Oh, okay. I love it. Okay. So do people have to go to the live this week or the Q&A to be in the program?
No, you actually can just go to my website and you can, if you're interested in the HER program, you'll see Be Her on the website in pink. You can click on that and move forward with that. If you are interested in the Divinely Unleashed program, you can actually go to programs on my website. That will take you directly to the Divinely Unleashed page, which will then give you all the information and you can actually sign up that way. You don't have to go through the training. If you already know this is for you and you are crazy enough to work with crazy me, then
it will be a joy. It will be a joy and a blessing for you to work with Dr. LaTanya. Honestly,
thank you.
She is she's just such light. Such light. You are such light and just such joy and just goodness, right? Just goodness. Like she wants you to win. Just like for me. Like I want you to win. And it's so great to be able to have friends like that who you know really have your back and they want you to win. And that's how she is just in general. So check her out. Yes, check her out. So Dr. LaTanya, what would you say to people who say, this sounds great, but I don't know. Like, I'm kind of on the fence. I don't know. Like, I don't know if I should, invest in this. What would you say to a Black woman who's kind of going back and forth about that?
I have a lot to say to a Black woman going back and forth about that. One is, I'm really visual, right? So you just said someone that's on the fence.
Yes.
If you're on the fence, it's highly probable that you're going to fall to one side or the other, right? So do you want to fall on the side that has you where you currently are and you know that you're not in God's will for your life? You know that you're not happy. You know that you're not doing what you're supposed to do? Or would you rather fall to the side with me and get into position to execute the plan that he has for your life? Someone that's been there, someone that's done it. I've invested a lot of time, energy, and hundreds of thousands of dollars, no lie, in myself and my businesses. So I know the programs that are out there. I've been in a lot of programs. And so I have a lot of knowledge, not only to share, but I also can tell you what works for us and what doesn't.
Yes.
And I would say, pick a side, sis. Pick a side. You're going to stay where you are, or you're going to move forward and know that you have me to hold your hand, wipe your tears, and keep pushing you forward because we are going to win. We are going to get to this God-given purpose.
Yeah, and have you laugh in the process.
Because
it's hilarious. OMG. Hilarious. You'd be laughing. Okay. So let's end on this question and then we're gonna read the community chat. Okay. So there's a Black woman watching us right now, and she can resonate with being in situations that have just knocked her down, right? She's heard the voice of God say to her, girl, this is not a good situation. You need to get out of the situation. It's not good. And she's saying something like, I can't leave this situation. Let's say toxic job. I can't leave this situation because I got bills to pay. I
Mhm.
want to wait till my kid graduates from school.
Mhm. You're
Um,
doing a lot.
I'm gonna make these people respect me,
Mm.
right? Or they're not gonna run me out this good job. What would you say to her if she's listening to this right now? She might be having the Sunday scaries because she got to go back to the job on Monday.
Tomorrow. Blue Monday. Blue Monday. Blue
Mm,
Monday.
yeah.
I would say to her, put your steps where your faith is. If your steps if your faith is aligned with you still, if you still feel like God wants you to be so unhappy in this job where you're having heart palpitations. I mean, oh my God. Come on, I have been there. Okay.
Mhm.
Put your steps where your faith is.
Mm.
I think that and I've done it too. I still do it
Mhm.
in certain areas where I could trust God a zillion percent in one area. Another area, I'm like, oh, I don't know if he can do this. I don't know. But like really, really put your steps and prepare for what you want. Prepare
Mhm.
for what you want. And I think that also is that part can be scary because
Yeah.
which again is why you need someone like me that has
Mhm.
been there and I can help you prepare. Doesn't
True.
mean you leave overnight. I didn't leave my job overnight.
True.
Honestly, I left my job 6 months earlier than I planned because God told me to. And let me
Mm.
let me let me add to this on that point.
Mhm.
This is a key point about being so obedient.
Mhm.
Because remember in the very beginning, I talked about how one of the reasons I did not want to go back to school to get my PhD was because I knew I'd have to face statistics again, right?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And so fast forward, in the schools, we work on year of service credit,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
I'm
Mhm.
like, oh, I'll just quit in June because then I have a full year of service credit.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
God was like, you don't need service credit because you're never going back there. That's exactly what he told me. Okay.
Yes.
You're never going back there. So
Uh-huh.
I had already, like I said, replaced the money in my business that I was making at the job already, but
Mhm.
I still wasn't, my brain and my life wasn't structured to not have all this extra money, right?
Right.
So
Right.
I was like, oh no, I still got to leave. And, I got to leave in June. I got to finish this because then I give me 6 months, excuse me, 6 months to really have things more aligned and blah, blah, blah.
Mhm.
God told me very clearly, if you don't leave this job in January, like I'm telling you to, what that means is you're trusting in your bank account more than you're trusting in me.
Ooh.
I heard that so clear as I'm talking to y'all right
Mhm.
now.
Wow.
Let me tell you what the killer is. I brought up stats again. Why? Because when I left the job in January, like God told me to,
Mhm.
and that next semester, so January, whatever, when school started, I had to take stats. Okay.
Mm.
Now, the killer was, pun intended, had I stayed at the district after God told me to leave,
Mhm.
I would have been in a straitjacket somewhere. And I say that because I had no idea that me going into stats at the doctorate level was very, very different than what I'd already experienced at the master's level. I was doing 30 hours a week in stats alone.
Oh my gosh.
Right hand to Jesus, 30 hours
Woo.
a week. And that didn't even include my business. That
Oh
didn't
my
include my
gosh.
grandmama. That didn't include my other classes that I had.
Mm.
Only God knew I had to leave in January. If I had stayed to June, there was no way I would have
Yeah.
passed those classes. There was
Yeah.
no way I would not have even survived that
Wow.
kind of
That's
stress.
crazy.
30 hours a week. So I said that to say, be obedient. God is telling you to do something. The time is now. We
Yeah.
see who is in office and all the craziness that's happening now. Even government jobs are not safe. What
Right.
is safe is God's plan for you.
Yes.
You
Yes.
know, it doesn't mean it's going to be easy. I definitely have had some very difficult times. I'm having one right now with some things going on in my life. But what I do know that keeps me balanced or keeps me, I don't want to say balance like balance, keeps me in harmony is what I'll say. I don't think you always have balance in life. That's a whole nother topic for another day. But it's because at least I know I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
the part, like I said, entrepreneurship is one of the hardest things I've ever done.
Mhm.
I still would never go back and work for anybody else as an employee. If anybody ever had me, I'd be a consultant. I'd be coming and going to where I want to go, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So to the point, follow the unctions in your spirit, trust God. He's the only one that sees the full picture. When I tell y'all, you couldn't pay me $1 million to think I would be doing 30 hours a week in stats.
Woo!
I
That's
mean,
unbelievable.
it's unbelievable. So imagine if I had 30 hours a week in stats, my business, my personal life, and then I still was working 40 hours at the job. There would have been no way.
Yeah, no.
So I left when he told me to. Thank God. We think we know stuff. We don't even know. We have no idea about stuff.
No. And I completely agree with what you said about when we're obedient and we allow things to happen, we listen to what God is saying. So many opportunities come our way that we never could have anticipated. And even if the road is challenging sometimes, again, I would not want to work, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
and I told you before that somebody from the district asked me to come back. And I was like,
never. Yeah.
Girl. Okay. So even though I don't regret my decision ever, I don't regret anything about it. And so for Black women to know it's fearful, but once you get on the other side, you feel so much better. I also want to say, again, another cosign about working with Dr. LaTanya, she is going to hold you accountable. Okay.
Absolutely.
For real. Yeah. I cannot tell you when I was still at the district, she kept saying, when are you going to resign? When are you leaving? She kept saying that to me. And then when I started my business, she said, you need to get a photo shoot.
Oh, right? This girl, listen, if you guys see bruises on my arms, it is from Dr. Kamani. She fought me so hard about getting photos. And now when I see these photos, I text her like, oh my God, friend, you look so beautiful in these photos. This is a far cry from the woman that tried to break my phalanges off because you don't take any photos.
Oh, I was hot. I was like, I don't need a photo shoot. Ooh, I was so resistant. And LaTanya is so kind. She went with me to my first photo shoot. And she introduced me to the Black woman photographer who I still use. But it's crazy because I was so resistant. I think now I've done like 5 photo shoots. And now
I'm grown up.
Now it's fun. Okay. So we got to be open sometimes, but it really depends on who's in your circle, right?
Yeah. Thank you for sharing.
Being mindful of those people in your circle who pour into you. And LaTanya, you know, I always look out for LaTanya. Like if I hear about opportunities, I'm like, girl, did you hear about this? Right? Because we like to share things with one another. And again, you need to check your circle and see, do you have people around you who are pouring into you? Or I say, are they on the boat with you trying to make the boat sink? Okay.
Right.
Check your circle. Okay. So I want to read the chat really quickly and then we're going to wind down. I see your cousin is here.
Hey.
Shantae.
Hey, Shantae.
She said, great job. This is awesome. I need to hear this.
My cousin Ricky is here too.
Okay.
Family in the house.
Yes, Husband Tanya, your intuition is the Holy Spirit.
Yes, travel girl.
Yes. I knew it was time for me to leave my toxic job when I was making more money than I've ever made in my life at the time. And I dreaded going to work on payday.
Ooh.
Yeah. Even the money wasn't worth anymore.
No, all money ain't good money. And travel girl, you will love my training this week. You should come. The theme of the training, I actually called it Passport to Purpose. Ooh. Because I too am actually a travel girl. I'm on my 3rd passport, been around the world. Okay, come join. My friend Tane is here. Yay.
Wow. You said your 3rd passport.
Yeah, I'm on my 3rd passport. You know, I'll be with my friends.
Wow. That's
the whole theme. Yes, the whole theme coming up next week.
That's amazing.
Yes, my new friend Whitney is here. Put your safe where your faith is. Yep.
Yes. Yourself. Yes. What is safe is God's plan for you. Yes. We all need a photo shoot at least once a year.
Okay. Yes.
Yes. Check your circle. Make sure people are pouring into you. Yes. Oh, Whitney. Yes. I was in your attendee at the BW. Oh, yes.
We've been talking. Oh, my little cousin Kamani is here too.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love it. Okay. Yes. So everyone, please sign up for, I'm going to put it up here again. Okay.
Thank you.
So this is Dr. LaTanya's website. Check it out for all her services. This is the offer she has that's coming out this week. So check that out. And then here's information about Passports of Purpose training and the Q&A session. Okay. So check all that out. All this information will be in the description section as well. So Dr. Latanya, last words as we are winding down today. Any last words you want to share with the audience?
Oh, yes. The first thing that came to my spirit right now is I don't remember exactly where it is, but there's a Bible scripture, and I think it's in James, if I'm not mistaken, but it says faith without works is dead. So you may have all these fabulous dreams that God has given to you. You're still going to have to work for it. There's still some things you're going to have to do. There's still some bridges you're going to have to cross. There's still some support that you're going to need, and like me, you might be as crazy as me until God knows for 7 years, and maybe this is your year 7. And you're like, okay, Lord, I'm about to be obedient. Go ahead and enroll. Go ahead and sign up and let me support you through this time. But I would say, think about that. Faith without works is dead. That's something that I think we don't put into play enough. Oh, God is going to do it. God, but what you about to do? Right?
What you about to do? Yes. Yes.
You
got to make it happen, right? Listen to what God is saying, but then be obedient. Don't just listen and just sit there.
Yeah. I mean, 100%. You can listen to the teacher teach, but if you don't write that paper, it's a wrap. You're going to fail the class. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Exactly.
What's going to happen? You're going to fail the class.
Exactly. Just sharing the quotes that resonates with me for future viewers. Excellent. You are both amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Whitney.
Your cousin's giving you love in the chat.
Love
thank you, doctors. I really enjoyed and appreciate your testimony. Excellent.
Excellent.
So everyone, check out everything that Dr. Latanya is offering. I can vouch for her. She is the bomb. Okay.
Thank you, friend.
I'm not associated with people who are not. Also, please say you like this video, because that means that YouTube will suggest this video to other Black women who might be in similar situations. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please do so and turn the notification bell. And again, check out what Dr. Latanya has to offer.
And subscribe to my channel as well. I'm just getting started on YouTube, but it's
so get back into
Yeah, Soul Care with Dr. Latanya. Thank you, Shantae. Yep, James 2:26. Faith without works is dead. Cousin coming through with the scripture.
Yes. Okay, everyone. So we will see you later. Take care, everyone.
Blessings. Bye. Thank you.